All right, music fans, welcome. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music and what happened a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, because Eric Clapton is out there talking, and Eric is a good guy, and so I'm going to be talking about him in real time for real people just like you and just like me. All right, before we get going on the conversation, here is Uriah Heep, Chaos and Color. Really great album, progressive rock, well put together, classic rock, progressive rock. It may not be your thing if you're into, say, straight up melodic rock. It's heavy in places, but it is very listenable. The CD is amazing because it's just such a cool package to purchase. It's got all these pages inside and lots of photos and so forth. So anyway, if you're going to buy a cool looking CD for your collection, Chaos and Color by the amazing Uriah Heep. Jeff Scott Soto makes an appearance on this album. I think that's very cool. That broadens his resume and certainly gives Uriah Heep even more of a hip factor. Not that they needed it, because they just do their own thing. And if you don't like them, they really don't care. Kind of like Eric Clapton, right? At this point in his life, he's thinking, hey, I've been around a long time. If you don't like me, tough toenails at this point. I have nothing to prove to anyone. And so Eric is doing a little interview. I think he did it a couple of days ago. I noticed it, and a couple of people actually covered it, surprisingly. A couple of classic rock websites who are usually talking about things completely unrelated to classic rock these days. But on this occasion, they actually covered what Eric had to say in this. And they didn't do any cut and paste journalism. Why? Because it's kind of hard to deny what Eric Clapton is saying. And there's still no apology to Clapton from any of these so-called news outlets that destroyed his character and said ridiculous things that weren't true about, number one, what was going on at the time, and number two, Eric Clapton's reputation, things that he just can't get back. Now, if people decided to come forward and say, hey, we were wrong, like the dude who ran Operation Warp Speed, what's that guy's name? Trump, right? If Trump comes forward and says, Operation Warp Speed, not a great idea. And trusting Dr. Fauci, right? That was probably not my best moment. 2020, if we could have a do-over on that, and all the conspiracy theorists out there, they may be right about some things, but he was the president, and I'm thinking that if he wanted to go in a different direction, he could have. Eric Clapton, though, I think saw the writing on the wall, as did many of us. By April of 2020, I think I had a mask burning party out in my driveway. It was glorious. People were driving by in a panic, like, I need those. What are you doing? Don't burn those. I need them. I need to drive in my car with one of them on. I need to walk down the road alone and wear one. They're so stylish. Did you see I just ordered a bunch of Spider-Man masks on Amazon for my kids to wear? Great. That's terrific, the only time you really should be wearing a mask is maybe Halloween. Anyway, old guy yells at the clouds again. That's me. All right. So Eric Clapton said the pandemic damaged the lives of many people in rehab programs, leading to some abandoning their treatment and others dying. Did you hear that? Others dying. But you know what, folks? Here's the deal. It was for the greater good. We had to stop this. We had to get the world under submission to just control what people did. Remember when you drove down the highway and the sign, those signs that have messages on them that change, digital signs? Stay at home. Wash your hands. Stay 6 feet apart. Stay at home. You're on the highway and they're telling you, basically, go home. What are you doing out here on the highway? Turn around. Go back. Danger. Warning. Will Robinson. I mean, scary times. And I really liked the crime scene tape at the playground so the kids couldn't get on the slide. You know, that slide's dangerous. You don't want kids getting fresh air and sunshine. That might kill them. Okay, thanks for your great advice that has completely been debunked. Sunshine is good. Fresh air is good. Okay, now we can talk about what they're putting in the air and the water. That's a little side issue. But overall, sunshine is a good thing. But everybody was so fearful that they thought that, you know, I'm going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. That's how I'll be safe. And I'll sit here with a mask on because that will protect me from myself, you know? Anyway, I'm never going to... People, are you ever going to let this... No, I'm not going to let it go. Why should I let it go? You know, if the government doesn't care about what they did, if the media doesn't care, obviously the rock media, is Eric Clapton bankrolling the anti-vax crowd? What happened to Eric Clapton? He used to be smart and somewhat reliable as someone who will go along with everything. You know, he took the brunt of it. Van Morrison, too. He took a bunch of it. Van Morrison, you know what? Van Morrison cares even less than Eric Clapton about what people think about him. I think Eric took it pretty hard because he had friends and he just thought to himself, wow, I took a little stand. He didn't even take a big stand because guess what? Eric Clapton went to CVS twice. And then, well, he claims that he couldn't feel his hands and he had trouble playing his guitar. But then a year later, he's back out there. So apparently he's fine. Wouldn't that scare the bejesus out of you? Wouldn't you be like scared to the point where, holy crap, this stuff did something to me? And you'd be, I don't want any more of that. No more, please. I had two. And the media, of course, running around saying, Eric Clapton needs to get with the program. Well, he had done it twice. He went with the program. He wanted to perform. See, everybody was promised, hey, if you do X, we'll let you do Y. If you do what we tell you to do, you can continue earning a living. Now, thousands of people who had jobs in the service industry lost their job, either because they refused to do it or everybody was so fearful they weren't going out. I remember where everything was curbside, go to the curb, someone will come out and they'll have a hazmat thing on and they'll have a shield and they'll hand you your food through like a little tunnel device where you take it on the other, they'll send it down the chute and you'll get it on the other end. Folks, that happened. That was happening. Now, I'm being a little hyperbolic here, but not so much. People were walking around with shields all the time. And I look at my wife and I'm going, yeah, they're prepared for, you know, the Holocaust, right? They're prepared for nuclear war. Except the fact that the air flows down and then it'll flow back up. You take a breath. Where's that? You're sucking air up from down below or above or wherever there's a gap, because otherwise you're not getting any air and you're going to die. But the shield, very effective because the particle hits the shield, bounces off, and then where does it go after that? Does the particle say, you know what? Look, you think you've beaten me, but I'm coming back. I'm going to go around. I'm going to do an end around, and then I'm going to come back up through. Drat. I need to get that hermetically sealed, you know, bubble to put myself in. Remember the pictures of the kids at school and they're in these individual pod type devices? Kids are playing music. I saw one picture of kids like learning the violin or the cello or something, and they're inside like a box, basically. If you want to go back to this, then just keep voting the way you're voting. Don't worry about the WHO. Don't worry about, you know, what the CDC is saying or the FDA or any of these captured organizations. And who are they captured by? They're captured by somebody who probably is trying to run the world, and they're definitely captured by somebody who is working for a pharmaceutical company who's got millions and millions of dollars of ad revenue and incentives for these people to say what they say. This has nothing to do with Eric Clapton bankrolling people that disagree with what the government says. Does Eric Clapton need money, by the way? Is he well off? He doesn't have to tour anymore. He doesn't have to put out music. I mean, he's doing this because he actually has principles. And this Crossroads Center that he runs was hurt by this stuff. Let me repeat this so people understand. People in rehab programs couldn't do rehab, leading to them not doing their treatment and others actually dying. People dying. Does that matter? I don't know. We live in a pretty cold and callous world right now. Does it matter that people in the third world are dying because now we don't have enough food? Because they're doing all kinds of weird things when it comes to food? I mean, isn't this kind of what certain people have said they want to happen? You know, we're kind of overpopulated. Now, is this a far-fetched notion to think that maybe there are people in high places that don't want as many people in the world because they're fearful that, you know, we're using up all the resources and, you know, then of course there's climate change, you know? I mean, we go from one demic to another demic, and then we're never going to stop these demics, okay? You put your own word in front of it, make it into your own word, because this is the new normal. And people who understood this said, we're never going back to the old way. We are now trapped in this new matrix. And some of it has subsided, but there are other things that they can ratchet up to make you feel like there's a crisis, like climate change, and so many other issues that make life very, you know, fearful all the time. You're always worried. You're always scared. You're always thinking, okay, what crisis is coming down the pike next? I don't think people 50, 60 years ago lived like this every day. I don't even think people during World War II were in this much panic every day. The media has created this panic, and even people inside the rock media, the rock community, rock and roll, supposed to be rebellious. I mean, Eric Clapton doesn't care about what you think about him. And then guys like Van Morrison, not only does Van not care, he's giving you the middle digit on top of it. Eric Clapton is a little less intense than Van. Who would have thought these two guys, Van Morrison and Eric Clapton, would be the leaders of the rebellion? These two guys. Not guys who play heavy metal, not guys in Judas Priest, not guys in Iron Maiden. Nope. They're all kind of like, well, we're just going to go along with what they say, you know, because we want to get back on the road in 3 years. And nobody talks about what these guys have to sign, you know, when they go out there to make a contract. They have to have, I think they canceled a bunch of concerts over in the UK. I think it was Yes. They were trying to do a couple of gigs and they couldn't because they couldn't afford it because of all the restrictions and all the extra money involved. And it's like buying insurance for your own show. Because if somebody comes down with one of these so-called things that are floating around out there, they might be able to sue because you didn't take the proper precautions. Even though we're now, 3 years away from, you know, the epicenter, the original epicenter. You know, there could be, my guess is 2024, it's an election year. And I think it's a joke at this point. You got people that don't want to debate other people. You've got a president who thinks that Russia is at war with Iraq right now. It's just, really? The whole thing's a joke. And we're all invited to participate in this joke, this entertainment wing of the military-industrial complex. That's what Frank Zappa called it. And he was right. He was right. Is the media ever going to pivot and say, you know what, Eric Clapton, we're sorry we put you through all this? Are they ever going to say, you know what, Eric Clapton has a point. You know, he runs one of these rehab centers, Crossroads. This is his way of giving back after he was helped through a similar program. So he's giving back, and he's got all of these great musicians, by the way, that are scheduled to show up with him in September. Santana is going to be there. Oh, no. Really? Wow. I thought Santana, Carlos, man, what are you doing hanging out with Eric Clapton? Joe Bonamassa is going to be there? What? Joe, we thought you were one of us. What are you doing, buddy? Hanging out with Eric Clapton. And, you know, those are the two that I know of. Actually, no, there are more. ZZ Top is going to be there. Buddy Guy is scheduled to be there. Steven Stills? I don't know. Steven Stills, if you've heard him lately, I don't know if Steven should participate in that, but he's going to be there. So give him credit for supporting the cause. Most of these guys understand rehab. I'm sure Steven Stills understands that. I don't know about Carlos Santana. I don't know about Joe Bonamassa or ZZ Top. I'm thinking ZZ Top probably understands rehab. Anyway, Clapton continues here. For people that wanted to get well from alcohol or drugs or anything, it was a tough time because the normal network of AA meetings was pretty much off limits. Some of them were shut down completely, and some kept going in a skeletal fashion. But the treatment centers were badly hit because people couldn't travel, and some were very fearful of going out. Yes, again, when you get out to the highway and the sign says, stay at home, stay at home. What kind of world was that? The kind of world that I think they would love to implement at a much greater level if they could. They're trying like hell to make everybody fearful all the time and worried all the time, which if they can steal your joy, they can basically steal your humanity. That's my theory on that. And don't let them do that. Don't let them steal your joy. Anyway, folks, that's my video on the topic. And here is Uriah Heep one more time. Chaos in Color. Check it out. It's a great album. Modern Retro Radio. Again, we're going into a holiday weekend here. ModernRetroFM.com. This could be the soundtrack of your July 4th celebration. And yeah, you should celebrate independence. You should just celebrate anything you can these days. Get out there with your family. Enjoy your life. Get some vitamin D. Don't stay inside looking at a screen. Get out there and enjoy your life. That's my advice. That's my medical advice from the expert, me. I'm an expert because if I declare I'm an expert, then guess what? That makes me an expert according to experts. All right? All right. See you soon.